Here's a cheers to you guys. To our sons and daughters, may they have rich fathers and beautiful mothers. But as of right now, we are on to season 2, episode 2 of Tipsy Cyber. Again, thank you so much for being here. This week we've got coming up, housing market is so red hot it broke Zillow's algorithm. U.S. offers $10 million reward for information on the dark side leaders and $5 million for any affiliates. Ukraine news names Russian FSB officers involved in Gamaredon cyber attacks. I hope I said that right. I don't know. These things are made up. Can't even tell. Point being is, we're also going to be talking a little bit about NFTs from the technical side of things. What are they? Why are they going for so much money? How are they being used? Why are we seeing them all, all of a sudden? The market, I think in November was said something like $147 million went through the NFT market just in November alone. So who, what, when, where, and why? None of that makes sense. So we're going to talk about the technology, also underwriting it, and not necessarily the securities behind it, because a scam is a scam, but just more so some considerations and how they're being used as a new and emerging technology that might be interesting for the company. As always, I drop all of these links to the articles that I'm talking about into the chat channel, so the news channel that we have on the Discord. Please hit ! Discord. Join us over there. Continue the conversation. Odds are I'll probably be in sub chat tonight. I don't know. We'll find out after party. It'll be a good time. Ricardo Ramirez, where can we learn blockchain security? There's not really a course that's being taught yet that I'm aware of. It's really kind of the way that you learn other forms of security for emerging technologies. You kind of get your elbows deep into it, learn a lot about the fundamentals of what the technology is, and then you start trying to think like the attacker and also learn from experience. We've definitely seen a couple different exchanges that have been attacked and items redirected through improper processes, but there's multiple different, threat vectors and ways that things can be abused. So come learn a lot about the field, get the mindset right, and then go from there. I mean, that's the thing about emerging technology. Sometimes you become the expert just by participating. For now, I threw these up into the Discord. Feel free to use ! Discord. Come join us for the conversation. But we're going to talk real quickly, and this is just a little bit of technology, but it's so insane that I wanted to hit it. Zillow offers is now has 7,000 homes that it needs to dump, and it is closing up. At least last I saw, it was kind of fuzzy in here when I was researching all this, but they are basically in the hole for $2.8 billion. Now, if you are unfamiliar with what's going on with Zillow, it was an algorithm-based quick flip offering system where it failed. It royally failed. The market is just too volatile right now for even Zillow to keep up with. So let's just start there. There's a massive bunch of market volatility happening in the housing sector currently. Okay, really easy. With that, the algorithm that they generated, the purpose of it was to target homes that seem to be underpriced for the market area and then purchase them in all cash offerings from the homeowner, and then flip them around and sell them. The problem is that there was a bit of an error with the algorithm, and I've not seen the actual verbiage, but I have seen customers that were involved in this reporting things like, through this program, their home was bought for $550,000, and because they're trying to recoup their losses currently, the they were able to buy the home back from Zillow for $350,000, making a net profit of $200,000. It's kind of insane right now. With that, wanted to talk a little bit about the algorithm itself and what happened. How did it get this? And as a result of a process or technology just running off the rails, because 7,000 home purchases, and they are expecting losses of 500 million in the next 6 months. Something went awry, correct? It wasn't just, we accidentally bought some. It's 5 or 7,000 houses, 500 million in losses. It's kind of insane. So let's start with a couple quotes. Zillow CEO Rich Barton said, "Fundamentally, we have been unable to predict future pricing of homes to a level of accuracy that makes this a safe business to be in." Talking about the flipping. Back to what I was saying about the algorithm. The way the algorithm works is it would identify homes that it believed to be underpriced within the market that it was currently at. Then that would be purchased and then relisted under Zillow and held for a bit longer of a time for a quick turnaround and, a quick buck. Fortunately, though, we've been unable to accurately forecast future home prices at different times in both directions by much more than we modeled as possible. Zillow anticipates between 240 million and 265 million in losses in the fourth quarter from these homes alone. They are firing off 20% of the staff currently for the section. They are wrapping up actions in the section as well. Basically, Zillow has said it could be a case of better late than never as far as unloading these. Specifically, they are targeting large company investors to unload the houses and not directly, B2C, as in business to consumer, individuals that would actually live in these homes, which is unfortunate. That removes some of the homes from the market. Realistically, though, according to Bloomberg, of the 7,000 homes that it bought, it would, as I said, institutional investors. Where was it at? Sorry, I lost my place here. All right, yeah. So apparently Redfin, there we go. Redfin has a similar model that it utilizes to buy these homes and flip from what their CEO describes, a more responsible way where there is a review of each home that is being flipped, manual review to make sure that the algorithm is correct. And so their algorithm they utilize more as a targeting review, a very targeted review of homes that might be good for this type of business venture. But unlike Redfin, Zillow, apparently their algorithm would execute some of the steps automated. So yeah, they're basically loads behind. What I wanted to, and the reason why I brought this up is because, this isn't a business channel at all. Well, I won't say at all, but I'm not, a business entrepreneur. Why would I bring this up? You, as a cybersecurity individual, or even an IT individual, when you coalesce with business, you have to be extremely cognizant of the business processes and ensure appropriate stopgaps are put in place as necessary. That's one. That's the one lesson here. Second lesson is context is extremely important in data. It can look like the average mean, household goes for this, and this household that qualifies for that characteristic is being bid, severely under share, so we should purchase them. But without context, you don't know if that is a good deal. As stated, this could be upwards of a $500 million mistake for the company currently. So, data, while automated, can be a very good thing. You definitely need to have monitoring in place. You need to have stops, or oversight of the automation, as well as with all data, you require context to make sense of it in a meaningful manner. And that's what makes it information. So, moving on. I'm going to try and move through these really quickly, guys, so we can go into the NFT side of things pretty fast. U.S. offers $10 million reward for information on dark side leaders, $5 million for any known affiliates. This is pretty short. U.S. State Department is leading the way on this, quote, leading to the identification or location of any individuals holding key leadership positions in the dark side ransomware variant transnational organized crime group. Ned Price added that there's also a $5 million reward for information. Okay, blah blah blah. Conspiring individuals to participate or attempting to participate in dark side variant ransomware incidents. Specifically, they've named DarkSide as being responsible for the Colonial Pipeline shutdown. Yep. They're also looking for nations who harbor ransomware criminals that are willing to bring justice for those victim businesses and organizations affected by the ransomware. Apparently, it's part of the Transnational Organized Crime Rewards Program. It has paid $135 million in rewards since it was created in 1986 total. So, I mean, I think if, somebody handed them up on a nice, pretty bow, they would be like, oh, yeah, here's your $10 million. But, so basically, and as we know, too, from what we understood, DarkSide, I believe it was DarkSide, closed up shop, might have been. But either way, there is another group that has, so there's another form of ransomware called Black Matter ransomware, which is basically a rebranded version of DarkSide. They have just recently announced that they are closing shop due to increased pressure from law enforcement as well. Quote, certain unsolvable circumstances associated with pressure from the authorities. Part of the team is no longer available after the latest news. Project is closed. After 48 hours, the entire infrastructure will be turned off, allowing issue mail to companies for further communication and get decryptor. For this, right, give a decryptor inside the company chat where necessary. Wish you all success. We're glad to work. I was on the website. So whatever's going on is starting to seem to have been building pressure, and it's actually being, what do you call it? It's being somewhat effective. Now, it will be interesting to see how far down the hole this goes. How long will this type of pressure continue to build? Will we see a decline in ransomware for once? I'm not sure. I think that until we fix the fundamentals, there's still going to always be, obviously, potential for abuse. So I don't think that this is going to go anywhere. Let me rephrase that. I don't think ransomware is going to necessarily downtick in any way, shape, or form. I could see, though, that this takes a massive hit out of it. I mean, that's a big monetary value for somebody to, provide information. But we'll see. Oh, man. Lying tonight, intentionally. All right, guys. So, this one, Ukraine names Russian FSB officers involved in Gamaredon cyber attacks. Now, obviously, Ukraine and Russia are not, never really have been since the USSR fell. They haven't really been great on terms. Anyway, so the SBU, Ukraine's version of Secret Service, revealed the identities of 5 individuals that are allegedly involved in the cyber attacks, specifically towards the group Gamaredon. Now, they are employees of the Russia's Federal Secret Service, also known as the FSB, and their names, as well as the roles within the FSB, have been made public. As well, apparently, they were able to capture, and this went public. I can't believe this part went public. phone recordings of conversations in which two of them appear to discuss the cyber attacks. Thing. The Ukrainian agency has been tracking the threat group that launched attacks as Armageddon, but the cybersecurity community, also it's known as Gamaredon, Primitive Bear in some of the intelligence communities, Winter Flounder, Blue Alpha, Blue Otso. I'm not reading all of these. Point being is that the threat group is well known and by many names. Switch it up to here. Now, with that, Cisco's Talos unit, if you're unfamiliar with them, excellent cyber intelligence unit you should take a look at, read up on. But the motive of operation appeared to be a hack for hire group that has been offering its services to other APT groups for either access or persistence. Apparently, they have carried out more than 5,000 attacks against Ukrainian entities, targeting specifically critical infrastructure, power plants, water facilities, and especially harvesting classified information from government agencies. It's kind of insane. Quote, the Ukrainian Special Service related the identities of the intruders, obtained incontrovertible evidence of their illegal activity, including interception of the phone calls. SSU has done it despite of the fact that the criminals used FSB's own malware as well as means of anonymization and cover in the internet, the SBU said. Currently, 5 members of the hackers group received the suspicion notices of high treason, according to Article 111 of the Criminal Code of Ukraine. In a 35-page report published, it is available. Take a look at where I dropped this in the news. Please hit ! Discord. Also, if you guys have any other questions about this stuff, please at any time. I see we got some questions that came through. I'll answer those for you in a second. But at any time, hit Q, drop it in the chat. I'll get sent it my way, as well as please feel free to hit ! SecITguy, add me on the socials, send me a message. I want to hear from you. I want to know how we can help. Okay. Ricardo Ramirez, I believe again. How much should an entry-level SOC analyst make? U.S. average. Varies wildly depending on where you're working. I've seen it vary as much as 45 all the way up to 85, 95 a year. That one, an entry-level SOC analyst, is a wildly varying group because of a couple things. One, dependent on experience. Because you're an entry-level SOC analyst and new to cybersecurity does not mean that you don't have any experience relevant to the position. I'm not saying that to say, that's a requirement. More so just pointing out the fact that I've seen individuals start off at SOC level 1 that were priorly music teachers in a middle school. And they went and they did a cybersecurity master's, got 2 certifications. They found a government facility that needed contractors, and they went in as a contractorship to learn the role. We're doing very well now. But at the time, they were cleared for a security clearance. So for them, they were cleared for security clearance, had a master's degree, had the 2 certifications, and I think that they were doing around 75 to 85 ballpark. I've had other friends that have gone out and gotten those types of jobs, and they did 6 years in the IT sector. They were doing around 95 because they had a security clearance. They were able to get into that stuff. Again, I also want to be clear here, just because I know a lot of people with security clearances, I'm not telling you to go get one or that you should aim for one. Realistically, it's very hard to come off of a street and into an organization where you need a security clearance because the company has to invest in you. I think an entry-level secret clearance is something like 20 grand to do all the investigations and the appropriate background checks. It's a lot of money. With that security clearance, yeah, the job starts off really high for the entry level, but it doesn't go anywhere. It does not. You do not earn a lot of money with the security clearance at the top end. And after 3 years to 5 years, if anything, you would have been earning more if you just stayed in the civilian sector. So I think that might be a good point to make too, is that you go into the U.S. federal or state level governments, while you might earn a lot more off the bat than you would if you went into a civilian sector role, the longevity of that earning is only for a couple of years where you've gotten one up on somebody. You also probably won't see as much in the ways of raises in your compensation. You'll definitely not see a lot of competitive nature because usually you get into those roles and it's extremely secure. It takes a lot for them to remove you from them once you're in. Things like that. So yeah, but 45 to top end 95, about an average there for entry level. And again, it highly, highly depends on your background, your experience, as well as where and what and how and who you are interviewing with, as well as your benefits too, because you could be doing 45, which just sounds pitiful, but at the same time, for cybersecurity, when we're talking, sorry, let me rephrase that. When you're talking cybersecurity related jobs, of the cybersecurity related jobs and the entry level amounts of money, saying 45 is on the low end for any cybersecurity job. So that's where I mean saying it sounds pitiful. But if the benefits include full health care for you and your family that you don't have to pay into, well, that's an additional, 20, 30 a year, especially like I live in New York. That's an additional 20, 30 a year that you can just add onto your compensation package. All of a sudden that 45 equals 75. That makes sense. So there's a lot more to it, especially when you're in those levels that you need to, also if they include any type of certification as part of your contract, you can go and get entry level certifications, as many as you want, or 2 a year, or 3 a year. Well, that's a couple extra $1,000 that you're not going to have to put out yourself. And they're going to give you time to study for the stuff, right? So 45, 55, 65, if you're down there, you should be looking at the benefits really hard, making sure that it's worth it. I would definitely expect some form of good health insurance if I'm working for 45 as a junior SOC analyst. Huden011, hi, I'm learning through Coursera to become a pen tester. Would you know of any great programs for me to learn? Thanks. Programs? Do you mean applications? Do you mean software? Do you mean coding, as in programming? I would completely biasly recommend you take a look at penetration testing student through INE, just because one, I work for them, and I'm in charge of that program, but also two, it is intentionally designed for an entry-level penetration testing student. It's free, and you can get your hands on the keyboard with a really good program. There's also free stuff that's available out there, so do as much of it that you can for free. And also take a look at try Hack Me and Hack the Box as well. Also hands-on, also really good. If you had ! Discord, join us in the Discord, start talking to the community. We have some amazing individuals who are top 1% on a couple of those things that I just named and can really walk you through self-education. Zgrav HD, a SOC analyst is the best position to get started in cyber, right? Just asking because I work in Gate Squad and I had a customer tell me about some position called SC or something. Never heard of it before. SC. I'm trying to think. Might be CS, cybersecurity in general, which that's just our market. Software, something. I'm not sure. I don't recognize SC at all. And best is it depends on you. Okay. I preach that there are 3 tracks to really get started in cybersecurity, and they are attack, defend, or engineering. So if you really love engineering and you love IT and you already have some type of background in IT, I would start taking a look at information security manager or information security analyst or roles like that, where you take a look at the engineering back end from a security mindset and you start seeing how to better or improve the IT. You can also take a look at systems administration and work on, so go and do like, I don't know, FireEye, Mandiant, or they separated, sorry, FireEye. Go do FireEye system administrations for their HX console, or O365 security compliance administrator, or AWS security administrator. Get the certifications related to that. If you like to put your hands on and build stuff, that might be the job for you, as opposed to blue team, because blue team is a lot of, some people would consider it troubleshooting because you just stare at logs a lot. You stare at a lot of logs, but what it is you're looking for the logs, like you're looking for footprints, and you're putting together a crime scene investigation type story of what happened from a digital perspective. Versus, and don't get me wrong, attack is excellent too. Penetration testing. You get to act like the attacker. You get to go smash a window, break into a system, rifle around, intentionally leave, whatever your calling card is, and get out of there, and then go, get paid for it and report it on Monday to the team that's responsible, so they can go fix the window you smashed, right? It all significantly depends on what type of job you like to do. And for red team, realistically, let me back that up a little bit. You'll be actively, constantly working on a command line interface where you are throwing exploits that you are having to learn on the fly in order to do the stuff that you want to do to get the information that you want to get, or the penetration that you want to get really into the enterprise environment. But it is if you've ever experienced trying to, back when you were new, send a file over SSH and download it to another end, it's like that all the time. Well, about 60% of the time, 70% of the time. Sometimes you know exactly what you're doing and you're just launching stuff and everything works. Sometimes it doesn't work. And then you have to troubleshoot. And while you're troubleshooting, you have to be extremely aware who's watching you troubleshoot on the other end. Because if somebody watches you troubleshoot, you can burn the entire operation. So, what makes sense to you? What do you enjoy? I really highly recommend free labs and environments. If you're talking quantifiably, though, SOC Analyst does have the most roles open currently, at last time I checked. Even more, good to see you on the YouTube. I appreciate it. Thank you, Evan. Sorry, I misread that. Evan, let me increase this font real quick. Awesome. Deborah Sue, I'm taking the EJPT right now and enjoying the course. How many certs do you need to get into an entry-level cybersecurity job? Apologies, this is already answered. Just joined. No problem. All right. So, one, can I just say, everyone, I'm really enjoying YouTube and how I see people's actual names, because it was difficult over on Twitch whenever I would look at stuff, and it's like, Board Panda or some other, random individual's name, and I'm just like, anyway. So there is no number for certifications to get into an entry-level cybersecurity job. Just like a degree won't get you into the role. Just like, and the reason why I say that is I definitely know people that have like 7 or 9 certifications, and they unfortunately have not been able to land a role yet in their area. Part of that is because they are looking in their area and there's just nothing that involves IT in their area. They don't want to leave. So that's one consideration. With that too, same with degrees. Just because you have a degree, even a level of certifications, does not. It's not a transactional register of get this, earn that, land this. Because cybersecurity permeates so many different forms of technology, there's a little bit of hesitation on the part of HR to make a commitment about what it is they want to talk, what it is they want or who they want. And a lot of times you unfortunately get them saying, we need them to have 3 years of experience, and they don't want to train new people. Trying to break that mold. We're working very hard. And when I say we, I mean work I'm doing at INE, as well as in the community, as well as working on other streams and other places, working very hard to try and dispel The idea that somebody must have experience to work for you. Because I've taught so many people that have had zero experience, and they pick it up within a month or two. It's a very small delay. And actually, what I'm trying to let people know is that if you have a good training resource, it saves you money in the long run to hire on new employees that you're going to have for at least 2 years, because they want to get their foot in the door and make sure they have good understanding before they move out on their own. So you'll have employees for 2 years. And those new employees, for the purpose of training, they will generally accept, and I'm sorry, but this is true, they will cyber secrets, they will generally accept a lower paying offer. I'm not saying take advantage of people, not what I'm saying, because even a lower paying offer is still higher than what you'd get anywhere else. Point being, though, is it's that trade-off, right? You have an institutional organization of knowledge, and you're working and you're able to gain that extra knowledge, right? And you're going to be there for 2 years because, like I said, generally you want to get your foot in the door somewhere. You want to get your experience and settle in real quick before you start reaching out and reaching beyond after you've maybe gotten more certs or hands-on experience or something like that. Having said that, EJPT is a good start. I'd really recommend taking a look at multiple other types of certifications, or not certifications, I'm sorry, training paths. Find out what your passion is. And also keep in mind that if you want to go red team, sometimes you can go, it's better to go blue and then red, because blue, some penetration testing teams will definitely take somebody that has, if they want somebody with 2 to 3 years of experience in penetration testing, but they can't find anybody, they will accept somebody that has, 2 to 3 years of blue team experience, because at least you understand cyber operations and you're good at coding and you've kept up with your penetration testing skills and you've learned a lot more. That's an entry path as well. One of the most difficult parts that I'm working through right now is trying to explain the web of cybersecurity, because it is a web. Once you have the foundational fundamental elements and your foot in the door somewhere, you can work in any type of field you want. If you want to go into engineering, if you started off as pen testing, but you got kind of over it and you wanted to go into engineering, you can do that. It's a really easy transition for you. Same with vice versa, going from engineering into blue team, or blue team into red team, or vice. However, once you have just people understand that you have foundational elements and exercises in the enterprise network, you will be able to move around. So it's not so finite. The reason why I suggest people really focus in on labs, though, is to get their hands wet, understand where their passion lies. Because once you're passionate about something, no one's going to stop you from learning everything you can about that. And then that passion's going to show through when you're in a job interview. That's going to much more likely lead to you getting the job you want. I hope that helps. Having OSCP and other basic CompTIA certs but no formal experience, realistically, would a hiring manager consider you for a position if you actively do CTFs, virtual labs, try Acme, Hack the Box, etc.? Again, yes, absolutely. You've gotten the requisite, you've gotten some certifications of some sort, and you're actively engaging. It's just, again, like I said, HR, it's difficult sometimes to tell them that you want an entry-level individual. You do want to train somebody. It is more advantageous to you. Where would SOC analysts currently on a job improve their skills? I would recommend take a look at what's called not SOC in the Box. Wow, Boss of the SOC competition from Splunk. Excellent competition that provides data sets. It's a CTF. You have to identify the events and walk through and either decode them or all sorts of different things. It was virtual last year or the year before, I can't remember. Might even be coming up now that I think about it. Point being, though, is they will post the previous year's stuff up and have walkthroughs that you can go and get your hands on for that. Yeah, Boulevard. I noticed that for today's cybersecurity, understanding of programming languages is a must. Sort of, kind of. At least Bash, Python, Node.js, JavaScript, Go language? No. Fundamentally, you don't need to be able to run laps around your programming capabilities. But again, it significantly depends on what job role you are doing. Yellow team, no, definitely not. Yellow team is much more about governance, risk, compliance, and the outputs. You generally won't be messing with too much code. Surprisingly, as an engineer, right? But generally, you're there to oversee, instruct, assess others and their coding efforts. Blue team, a little bit more, yeah, because you need to break down and understand what's going on. But again, you need to add a level of collection, output to something that you can understand. You can pick up the necessary requirements for coding within about a month of hands-on experience. If you're doing penetration testing, then yeah, you would want all that plus HTML. But then again, you're building the code, you're building the attack platforms, you're codifying the activities for a user to interact with to pull one over their eyes, right? So it's hard to say in today's cybersecurity because you forget how broad cybersecurity is as a field, right? It depends on your job role. Penetration testers are going to know a lot more about code than most blue teamers, with the exception of reverse engineers and malware. Malware analyst. On the back end of that, though, too, you also have individuals that will do signature development, signature creation. So they'll generally know a lot about the code to break down the signatures and what they're looking for. But you will pick it up. It's not something that is a prerequisite that you go into it. You should just know the basics about things like arrays and variables and how to do functions. I would say maybe like a working knowledge of Bash, PowerShell, Python will get you like through 60% of your first 2 or 3 years. And then picking the other languages up in a weekend is pretty easy to do for a working knowledge, that is. So we got 20 minutes left. I'm gonna go ahead and start talking NFTs. If I see something pop up, we will hit that. I'm just gonna laugh at Mr. White real quick. I'm 32 and working on CCNA and beginning certs, so I can still get in. Yes, 1000%, absolutely. I've seen people as old as 50 kick over again in cybersecurity. It's fine. There's no gatekeeping towards cybersecurity. Well, at least there shouldn't be. It's beyond being illegal. There's no functional requirement. Can you sit at a computer and type? That's you just got to be able to sit at a computer, take in the information, and output more information. That's you're a walking processing unit that can think for itself. So it doesn't really matter what age or anything else you're at. All right, guys. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about NFTs, or non-fungible tokens. Okay. What they are, technically speaking, what are some of the underlying characteristics of them as a technology, how they are utilized, and why they have been getting such a massive big blow up recently in the marketplace. So first off, to understand NFTs, you need to have a really basic understanding of what a blockchain is. Which, if you're unfamiliar with blockchain, it is a digital ledger of transactions that is duplicated and distributed across the network of systems on that blockchain, thus ensuring redundancy and public viewability of the transactions. All right. Sounds insane, but what it basically means is if you bought something at the dollar store and you had a receipt for $1 plus tax, imagine that was posted and on their website, and it was publicly available for anyone else that was either on their website or in any dollar store anywhere within the entire world at any given time. They could see some form of, it might just be a user ID that's fake, but it would just be this ID bought this at $1. Boom, done. And it's just a running receipt of everybody in the world at the same time, constantly. That's a blockchain. It's a digital ledger. Much more complicated than that when you look at it from an engineering perspective, but realistically, that's the idealism of blockchain. It's just a running receipt of actions, transactions, or creations. The two particular ones that we're going to talk about are generally the top two in the market currently. And one is for what we're used to, and the other is for what it has become since. The first is Bitcoin. Most people know nowadays about Bitcoin. Last check, it was over $60,000 per individual coin. In the Bitcoin blockchain, you will mine coins through algorithmic transactions, and the amount of work that you put in towards the release of the coins, or the blockade there, if you will determine your value as an output. Whittled all down, it gets to be computing power and electricity versus algorithmic computation over time. Now, Bitcoin, again, guys, keep in mind, this is so high level. So high level. Bitcoin does have small, slight restrictions. Primarily, it is a financial ledger of the coins themselves and the bit tokens. Now, number 2 on this list is Ethereum, also known as the Ether coins, right? Unlike Bitcoin, Ethereum combines both the financial transactions of the coins as well as a rolling record of any permanent information as it would be in an open ledger. For example, I remember going to why can I not remember this? AEO Schwartz, back when it was in its original place before the Apple Store bought it in Manhattan. And what they used to have at AEO Schwartz was a transactional ledger from 100 years previous that had been finally written into it by the store manager, and the penmanship was amazing. But I loved looking at it because the general items in each section as you went down, very well described. As far as the cost went, as far as their stocks went for the entirety of the store, it was quite amazing. With that, there were still small, tiny areas in this great big ledger where a mistake was made and it needed to be corrected. Ethereum, as a coin or as a blockchain, if you will, allows for added bits of identity and other information as part of that rolling ledger. So it's not just financially backed and financially traded, though those are there. You have the Ether coins themselves that are being traded, but you can also enter into per se binding legal agreements with the transactional register being open and available to everyone. Like you said, the redundancy, and you basically can't compromise that particular ledger because it's millions of computers all over that happens. Now, how the hell does any of this have to do with NFTs? Well, NFT stands for non-fungible tokens. I know this is a lot, but from an economic standpoint, we've talked about blockchain, we've talked about the two primary ones and how they differ from each other. Now, from an economic standpoint, fungible asset is something with a known unit of measure that can be readily exchanged, like money or Bitcoin. Easily exchanged from finance to finance, and that can be exchanged in or for goods, services, or whatever else. Correct? On the flip side of that coin, a non-fungible asset or individual is something that is so unique and has such unique properties that it is a subjective decision as to its cost or worth. On an economic side, now, Mona Lisa is frequently used as an example. Any form of artwork You can also even talk about it, customized physical homes or custom vehicles, things that readily do not have a known value and it's a subjective meaning or worth. Combined with blockchain, non-fungible token is the artwork. Mine artwork doesn't necessarily have to be digital prints or graphics either. That can also be video. It can be audio as well. Any form of art is combined with the digital certificate of unique ownership that cannot be that can be purchased or sold. But primarily, you're talking about a worldwide, globally exposed transactional register that is easily ingested by multiple platforms that clearly state the ownership of certain assets at any given time. Okay? That is the non-fungible token. That is the transaction of purchasing digital art of some form, and then that purchase is then written to the ledger itself. Now, definitely a lot there. Let's just start with the really, let's just kill the really easy question here that a lot of people are going to definitely say. I can right click, save as, and I have a copy of that picture. So what does it matter? The ownership is, because it's a digitized version, the ownership is not in the possession. It's in the certification of the ownership. And we're going to go over a couple reasons as well as a couple different summaries as to why individuals may or may not want to utilize NFTs for digital purchasing or engagement. Okay. Let's just start with a nice little grouping. We're going to start with something really easy called historical value. Okay. For example, Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, recently sold his first ever tweet, and it went for $2.9 million. And that is much higher than any form of, and not any, I won't say any, because it's definitely not any, but many forms of artwork that you would find. And the thing is that we all know what it says. We all have pictures of it. It's in every article. So what differentiates that the first ever tweet, and why, God's name, did it go for $2.9 million? One, it's historic. I mean, look at the evaluation of Twitter, look at multiple instances. Also, Jack Dorsey himself is also a bit of a, he's up there in the billionaires club, let's put it that way. Point being is it has some form of aesthetic or historical value. And the certificate of ownership for that makes it such a unique and independent individual item that it has the potential to be subjective in nature, depending on how big the company gets, that it might go up in value as a collectible. Looking at some other items too, there have definitely been multiple memes that have been sold. There have been multiple versions of the original memes that have been sold as well. And you have the opportunity here to own a piece, if you will, of internet history from the owner themselves. And it gets registered on a big, long list of assets that says, I own it. Again, some people might not be on board with historical value, or, if you will, collecting a museum of digital activity that has occurred. Okay. Well, there's another form too called associated worth, which I basically just kind of made that up. But basically, associated worth is either some form of unique access, service that's provided, some type of external signed value. Now, because the NFTs are unique tokens, each item that goes up for sale needs to be unique in nature to and of itself. However, that unique token can also be sold and purchased, and the rights to services or access can be transferred along with that. A couple examples of this. The Bored Ape Yacht Club. I've been looking at these guys all week. All right. They provide, when you purchase one of their unique tokens, they provide access to very specific types of parties. And in order to just even get in the door, you must have bought one of their tokens. Some of these tokens go for unique VIP packs, unique access to certain areas or certain lounges that might be there, on stage access. It can go through the gambit of things. Currently, and last I checked right before this, they're sitting at number 2 collection on the OpenSea market. And they have multiple other, I believe they're all related, but there's Bored Ape Yacht Club, is a Monster, might be Monster Ape Yacht Club. But there's several of them. And yeah, it basically and what's also kind of unique about this is not only do you gain access to these parties, but if there was something so unique and unbelievable there that happened at that party, or that was intentionally designed to happen at that party, you wouldn't just have to deal with a physical wristband of some sort that got you in the door. But you could legitimately, years later, go, I was there, and already have a receipt, a very clear transactional register of the access that you previously had, because it doesn't necessarily expire. NFTs don't expire. And based on the value of the collection as well, it could go on to, raise in price or value. If anything, it might just be a collectible just because you got in the door. Another type of unique access or externally assigned value that deal with NFTs is a wonderful concept coming from Mila Kunis, yes, the actress, called Stoner Cats. It's an NFT project where only people that own an NFT of Stoner Cats can watch the show. And through the purchase of the NFTs, through the purchase of NFTs, that's what she ended up using to fund the necessary work from. She does a great breakdown of this on Hot Ones, a recent Hot Ones episode that came out, I think, 2 weeks ago. But like, everybody is coming from, they are all experts at what they're doing. The content is rated R. The only way to watch Stoner Cats is to have bought into the idea in the outset. Top of that, they're working with the idea where the community decides every episode ends on a cliffhanger, and the community decides the outcome. It's a choose your own adventure. So it's pay to play in order to both watch and also decide as to what's happening within the story itself. And they raised $8 million on NFTs because of that, through crowdsource. Also, last little one, and then we'll move on to the other different parts of scenarios as to why NFTs can or cannot, what they are and ways they can be used. So Kings of Leon, they are including an album release and are making part of it NFT related. So with their album release, apparently those that purchase through the NFT program will have early access to the album, as well as receive limited edition vinyls, collector series vinyls only to the sets, or also front row tickets to the concerts that are within their areas. They come with a couple different things, plus the album and the music itself through the NFT program. So you can have associated worth with the NFTs where the digitized unique tokens themselves are not necessarily the item worth value, but the register that you were participating in it, and then the services and goods that come with it can go there too. Sean M., did you ever hear about NFT games like Axie Infinity? Maybe it is a good currency for gambling and gaming. I've not heard of NFTs regarding games, and honestly, this is new to me too. I've been researching it all week, and because I keep getting questions about them, and I didn't have an answer, so I started researching them, and I decided I didn't really have anything from the community to talk about because we hadn't been together in so long. So I wanted to make sure that I was touching on what I learned this week, as well as a summary of the best, that I could create of what can these be used for. Having said that, the problem with NFTs are that, unlike currency for gambling and gaming, now don't get me wrong, there are NFTs for gaming out there. It's actually funny you mentioned that. So for gaming, there are unique NFTs for skins and artistry that's going to be used within the game concept itself. I'm guessing that would best be for mass multiplayer gaming, and other forms like that. Gambling would be much more difficult because that is extremely transactional, and usually these are related to unique engagements for value. So the purpose of the NFTs is they have to be unique in some way, shape, or form, unlike anything else. And that kind of gets into the third item. So financial gains. Utilizing NFTs for money. Now, there are already existing trading markets for purchase and repurchase. So there are people that will go and they will put bids in for, for sale items. And the person that's selling them might not be the actual original minter, if you will, of these NFTs. And then based on, Ethereum or Ether, I should say, Ether prices versus Bitcoin versus whatever subjective reasoning people want, they can get into this game of I buy it at 40 and then I sell it at 50, or somebody puts a bid in on it at 50, or my reserve wasn't met and I take it down, or whatever else. It just depends on the volatility of the market. And that's what NFTs do represent, a highly subjective form of financial transaction. It's just, what will somebody pay for it? Part of the financial gains are just because somebody can. I read about a Gucci NFT that sold for a couple $1,000. I want to say it was like six figures. And people just were blown away by that. But to be honest, it is straight up just because, why? Because they can. And sometimes that's the reason why. Why do some shoes cost $32,000 for something you're putting on your feet and wearing on the street? Because it's unique, because it's no longer made, because there's only one pair that they know of, and because someone will pay it. It can also happen here. Having said that, there's a whole nother side of this that I'm still researching, and I'll let you guys know when I get to it. There are some tax loopholes here. NFTs are not very well defined in the U.S. tax law as of yet. Currently, they are being assessed as artwork, which are considered assets. But there's a couple arguments going on with the tax laws to this, but they've not been very clearly defined. And that ambiguity does allow for some activity and actions when it comes to processing. Other things that can happen is you can utilize these to show that you've taken a loss for your business. It's another option, which would help you transition tax bills to different years, different markets. There's a lot that can be done, is my sense. And I'm still learning that side of things, trying to see different areas, even taking a look at the illicit side of things. And it might be something that I bring up on, I don't know if it's going to be a Tipsy Cyber, but I might be bringing it up later on and seeing what it looks like. So anyway, that's a nice little summary. In summary, NFTs are a blockchain-backed, unique asset transactional system where the assets are digital, but the value comes from the certification. All of a sudden, I became Mike Tyson. The value comes from the certification of unique ownership and the ability to globally evaluate the authenticity of said certification. With that, NFTs can also contain secondary services or goods in relationship to that. And there are currently, because it is a new and emerging technology. Guys, I swear I will learn to talk tonight the second I get off stream. Because it is a new and emerging technology, there are some fiscal loopholes that are still currently available. I hope that helps. I will be hanging out in sub chat for a little bit, but that was going to be the end of my time. Guys, I cannot thank you enough. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time. As always, you are amazing, amazing individuals. So, but we are coming to the end of the night. I want to thank my mods for their ongoing work. I want to thank you, yes, you, chat, for coming and hanging out with me. I really do hope, as always, that I was value added. I really do hope that you enjoyed yourself, because there's a lot of other things you could be doing on a Friday night. Please hit ! Discord. Drop some suggestions for improving. Come join us in sub chat. Also, you can hit ! SecITguy. Let me know what I can do better. Let me know some topics you want to hear, or just say hi. Add me on LinkedIn. But here's a cheers to you guys. To our sons and daughters, may they have rich fathers and beautiful mothers. Have a good weekend. Until next time, be safe. Hey, thanks for watching. I want to thank Neil on the Cyber Insecurity channel for providing a place to have real conversations with real people. Feel free to throw a like or to follow me on the socials in the description. Please remember to click subscribe, hit that notification bell, and if you want to see other videos, click that stuff that's all over the screen. See you next time.